Eastern areas of Ukraine are bracing for what they fear will be a new Russian offensive. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky warned that Russian troops are moving to carry out large-scale military operations in the east of the country. Russian bombardments struck various sites across Ukraine through the weekend. In Dnipro, the country's fourth largest city, missiles destroyed the local airport and wounded several people. Meanwhile, investigators continue to exhume bodies from mass graves around the capital, Kyiv. Ukraine authorities say more than 1,200 bodies have been found so far following the withdrawal of Russian forces from the areas. Our correspondent Alexandra von Namen is covering this story and joins us now from Kyiv. Alexandra, we keep hearing that Russia is about to launch a major offensive in the east and south of the country. How is Ukraine preparing for this?
Ukraine is strengthening its defenses in the east and the south of the country, sending more troops there in a clear anticipation of a major Russian offensive there. The authorities are also urging civilians there to leave as long as they can. According to the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, the Russian army is trying to break the defenses of the strategically important city of Izium, and they are trying to capture the city of Mariupol, that, as you know, has been under siege for many weeks now. And the clear goal here seems to be for the Russians to take control of the Donbas area, of the Donbas region, including the Donetsk and Luhansk regions.
Russian forces have left a trail of destruction, Alexandra, in areas that they've withdrawn from in the north of Kyiv. You've been there. You've been traveling to different places there. What have you seen?
We went, for instance, to the city of Chernihiv yesterday. The city was under Russian siege for many weeks, and for some period of time it was completely cut off from the outside world. The people there told us they didn't have water, no electricity. They suffered from hunger. Some went on for days without eating anything. Many areas of the city are completely destroyed: schools, a hospital, residential houses. But judge for yourself. Let's have a look at our report from Chernihiv. The city of Chernihiv, after weeks of siege and heavy shelling by Russian forces. We meet Svetlana and Valentin Osepienko in a local hospital. They survived, but were both injured in an airstrike that hit their house.
It took less than a second. We just heard a whistle. I screamed, "Get down," and covered my son.
Valentin still has surgeries ahead of him. Svetlana is doing a little bit better. She shows me pictures of their house before and after the attack.
Why did they attack us? I don't know. We didn't do anything bad. We're civilians.
The hospital itself was not spared either. Bogdan Rozhilo, the head of the trauma center here, tells us. After a Russian strike, his team struggled to keep going.
We worked without water and electricity. We put headlamps on and took care of those seeking medical assistance. It was very hard, but we stayed here and did what was necessary.
And the situation worsened when Russian forces completely encircled the city, residents tell us. Chernihiv endured weeks of Russian siege and just barely came through. Water and electricity were almost completely cut off. No aid could come in. Local officials say at times the city buried up to 100 people in a single day. Some of them were killed by Russian troops, others died because they could not reach the hospital due to heavy shelling. In the local morgue, Edward Slepko is using refrigerated trucks for the bodies that still need to be identified or picked up by relatives.
Many people left the country to escape the fighting. They are not in Ukraine and cannot get back to bury their relatives. That's why there are still many bodies here.
Those who come here to claim their loved ones are overwhelmed by grief, like Igor's family. He was a husband, a father, a brother, shot dead by Russian soldiers.
He was the best brother you could have. I was so proud of him, and now something this terrible has happened to us.
Death and destruction is all that is left after the withdrawal of Russian forces from Chernihiv. And what those who survived fear most is that the Russian army might return.
Alexandra, given the atrocities that were committed in areas under siege by the Russians, is the Ukrainian government still willing to negotiate with Moscow on ending this war?
Yes, they are. And the Ukrainian president has made it clear repeatedly how hard it is to think about resuming the talks, to think about sitting together with Russian representatives after what happened in Bucha, Borodyanka, Chernihiv, other places. However, he also said that it's important to talk because what the country needs is, of course, a ceasefire. And everyone here wants the war to end.
Alexandra, thank you very much for your reporting. Our correspondent, Alexandra von Namen, there in Kyiv.